So hi, Welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Gloria.
and we're here with,
Caleb Hearn.
and we're asking some questions today about his upcoming album, Left on McKinney. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you. And yeah, I think the response has been pretty good so far. I'm just excited for everyone to finally hear it and that kind of thing.
Hell yeah, the album
Hell
is
yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you so much. Wow.
Hell yeah.
Of course. So, is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yes, great question. So Left on McKinney is it's actually McKinney Road is the road that my grandparents grew up on, and they just played a really big role in my life growing up as a kid. My parents got divorced when I was around 10 or 11, and my grandparents were just like this very they were just very steady and consistent. And so as a kid, it's like you need that steadiness, and you kind of crave that um, stability in a home. So their house kind of became that safe haven for me. And they live on McKinney Road, and to get there from any direction, it would be a left on McKinney.
Gotcha.
So
Aw.
we named the title track that, and it's not necessarily because the album's about them or anything, but it's just kind of more about who I am and the growth that's come, in the last 10 years of my life, really, and just how much, they've just really been the foundation for that, I feel like. So
Hell yeah. And
I love that.
any meaning behind the cover art?
yeah, so the cover art, not really. To be honest,
It's okay.
the cover art, we actually, I mean, the only thing that I could say had some meaning with the cover art was we were trying to find a place, because I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. I'm from North Carolina, which, I mean, it's not too hard to find somewhere that looks like North Carolina because the states are basically the same geographically. But we were trying to find like these like, what are they called? I'm blanking on the type of fields with the, it's not corn, it's not rice. Is it rice? I don't even know.
Rice?
But the yellow field, the cover art, I'm running through like a field of like yellow
Oh.
grass, basically.
Yeah,
instead of-
yeah.
Because everything around me was just greenery and stuff. So I was like, oh, I really want to find, because in North Carolina where I grew up, there's a lot of that, that kind of like yellow field, golden hour type stuff. And
Yeah.
so we just tried to find a place in Nashville that could replicate that. And then I just started running through a field, and it was just a really cool shot, like very movement and kind of almost digital film type. So it felt really cool. And yeah, and it was kind of a little bit, there was a little bit of reasoning behind the whole like left on McKinney and I'm running to something, kind of
Yeah.
running back to that safe haven kind of. So
Aw.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Yes. So this album has taken me probably, I think about a year now in the works. I don't think we really knew that it was going to be an album until about 8 months ago. But when we started it, we were kind of just going song by song, and it really wasn't intentional until the last like 6 to 8 months, I guess. It was more so just writing about how I was feeling and that kind of thing. And then once we had like a little bit better, and Clonopin, and I think the other song we had was Left on McKinney, we kind of felt like there was a body of work behind what we had started here. And so we kind of started like really purposefully at that point, just writing thematically about, things in my life and how, like, kind of reflective, but also like forward. We are actually going to call the album Forward for a while, which was interesting, just because a lot of my music in the past has been very reflective, and this is kind of the first time in my life that I feel like I'm actually looking forward to the next year or the next day or whatever. I've always just kind of looked back on my life and blamed things or whatever, but now I feel very hopeful for what the future holds. And I think that's what we kind of wanted to depict in this album, even though we didn't call it Forward. We're still kind of going in that direction, and hence the running in a field and that kind of thing. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that you like talk about, moving forward, but then the album art and the album title are kind of like this going back to your safe haven, but at the same time you're also moving forward in life and in your music.
Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. It's a great point. I think it's kind of like it's kind of an indication of like, yeah, I'm moving forward, but without this, I wouldn't be able to. So it's kind of like
Mm.
I had to go back there
Yeah.
and reflect and really kind of live in that moment again so that I could move forward, you know?
Absolutely.
Heard. So what song off the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Technically, I think the one that took the longest to write would be Get There When I Get There, because not because it was like difficult necessarily. That one was just we had written a verse, a chorus, second verse, and chorus again, and we had it left there, and we were like, oh, it could be a short song or whatever. But that was like there was like months of just going back and forth on ideas with it, and then finally, I came to the conclusion that I think it needs a bridge. So we wrote wrote a bridge, this big like anthemic bridge or whatever, and it really just made the song kind of more special to me. It went from probably being my third or fourth favorite song to maybe like my second, because of that bridge, which was really cool. And I still think that my favorite song on the album has to be Clonopin. I really love that song. And I might be saying that because it's really fun to perform live. So
All
That
right.
would help. I
Yeah.
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Guitar solo.
Yeah.
That's
Badass,
why.
man. Yeah.
So how did the track list for the album come about? Did you write the opener be the opener, closer be the closer, shuffle down and see what fits? What was that process like?
To be honest, like we actually we kind of sat down with that, and we're kind of thinking of like, is there a story? Is there a right order for this? And we didn't necessarily land on a specific reason for why it should be ordered the way it is. But what we kind of tried to do was go with themes, like, you know, kind of starting the album with, you know, some of the songs that are already out, obviously too, which I feel like is also just kind of familiar, helps with, you know, people that don't know me.
Yeah.
That was obviously there was a decision behind that, but really it was kind of just like all these songs kind of go together, but they don't follow an order necessarily. So we were kind of like, okay, we really focused on putting the new songs in order. We wanted to do Left on McKinney last, to kind of wrap the album, because after you hear the first 7 songs or so, the 8th one will be like, oh, okay, I get why, you know, I kind of get this whole story now a little bit. So really, Left on McKinney being last on the album is really the big, I guess, decision that we really made. So yeah.
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record? You kind of went a little bit into it at the beginning, but if you want, you could go a bit more in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been all over the place, but I feel like throughout this past year or so, there's just been a lot of life changes and growth for me. And like I really do feel, I just turned 24, so I really do feel like in the last year or two, there's just been so much like growing up and change. Like I just don't recognize myself even a year ago almost. And it's strange, but it's like it's all good and positive. But throughout this album, I've kind of really focused on pushing the boundaries in like what I want to say, not holding back anymore. So like Clonopin, for instance, was like something I've been wanting to talk about for years now. And I just, every time I would do it, I felt like I was being too vulnerable, or maybe people would think I'm doing it for attention or whatever. And so I just kind of held off and held that in. And then finally, when we wrote Clonopin, I just was like, you know, the song was good, that helps, but I was also like, screw it. You know, there had to be that moment of like, you know what, I really want this project to feel the most honest out of any project that I've ever done. And I think it's really nice because my headspace was kind of like, you know, closed off a little bit, but throughout this album I've kind of broke that mold and really have just opened up. And I feel like going forward with new projects and new songs too, it's going to continue to get easier, and I'm gonna be able to push that boundary even more. So
Hell yeah. Out of
Fuck yeah.
curiosity, do you have a favorite lyric off the record?
so my favorite lyric, um it's kind of a little bit longer, but the lyric is, I don't want to wonder where I'm going while missing where I'm at. Just to find out all I want is what I had. And I just thought that
Yeah.
that lyric was, it's in Get There When I Get There, and that whole song is just, about the questions that come when you're in your 20s or whatever, that are like, what are you doing with your life? What do you need to get a wife right now. You need to get a house. Like, you need a dog. Like, all these things. It's like, grow up a little bit. And it's like, it's the idea of like people's timings are always different, and it's whatever's best for you.
Mhm.
So I think that was like, when I was writing that, I was just kind of I was a little bit preachy in that song, but I really wanted to be, in a sense, because I felt like
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that people do without even realizing it. Just like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, okay, stop.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I thought that was a cool lyric, and that was a good question though. Yeah.
Thank you. And I relate heavily to that lyric and the meaning behind it. I'm 21 and it's like, all right, like when is it time to, get the ball moving and get out of the parents' house? And it's like, man, I don't fucking know. I'm still trying to make shit happen. you know?
Yeah, put the head on your shoulders.
Yeah.
For sure. So
Absolutely. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should you do it in the car with friends, dark with headphones on? Is workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
yeah, for most of my music, I would say this is one that is gonna hit the most when you're by yourself, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, play it in the car. I'm gonna say this really loud. Play it in the car with your friends, but no. But I will say, like, it's the kind of music and the lyrics and that kind of thing that you really, I would encourage you to be very attentive and focused, because it's one of those things where it's like, it's not necessarily just feel good music. It's the kind of music that you are trying to actually, whatever you're going through, use to heal from something or grow from something, or just even just find someone who's been in your shoes and can relate to, some of the things that someone's going through. So headphones in your car at night by yourself, like that's what I would recommend for sure.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Got it.
Mhm.
Honest,
Okay.
vulnerable,
Okay.
and this one's a cop out, but I like the word real.
All right. Damn right.
Hell yeah. And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
Yeah, I want people. I've talked about this before on a interview, I think, and it was a great question. I think I want people to just. I don't think anyone needs to have a certain emotion or whatever to approach it, but
Mhm.
I think that just going in with I just said this word, but like vulnerable state and open mind to kind of like, even for someone who might not be struggling with some of the things that I'm talking about in the album, or just life's been good recently or whatever, like, even just going in with just this open mind of like, well, maybe there is something that, I might hear on this album that really touches me or speaks to me. I just want people to listen to it, and really be attentive, in the sense of maybe there's something in there for them. So
Yeah.
Hell
I
yeah.
love that. So, are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of this album, positive or negative?
yeah. So I did a few songs with two producers that I work a lot with, um, Colin Foote, Alex Burrell. They're both in LA, and they're just incredible people, incredible producers, incredible writers. And we did Clonopin together. We did Get There When I Get There together. We did A Little Bit Better, um, and it was kind of a challenge, to just because of being in different locations and stuff, and tracking all the vocals for the album, because it's one thing to write the songs, but then to record the vocals the way you want them and be able to produce it out and everything. That's just a whole different thing. And
Mhm.
I think it was a little bit challenging trying to find time to go out to LA and be able to focus and do vocals, because anytime I would go out to LA, it seemed like I was playing a show, and then we would try to do vocals the next morning and my voice was kind of gone, and I'm like,
Yep.
okay, this isn't great. Or like trying to find time in their schedule to fly to Nashville. And that's what we ended up doing to kind of finish it was they came to Nashville, and which was awesome. And we kind of like got the vocals for the rest of the songs. And I think I did do, after that show in LA, I did do vocals for one song, but we had to wait a day to get my voice back a little bit. But
That's fair.
yeah, that's always the challenging thing, I think, with projects, especially if you're not working with just one person and they're not in the same state as you either.
Yeah.
So that's always a challenging thing, but it worked out. So
Oh yeah, that's
All
good.
that matters, yeah.
Yep.
So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
That's a great one. Snack of choice. Oh man. Well, if I'm kind of full, but I want just a snack, and I'm like, oh, something sweet, I'm gonna go like the Haribo gummy bears. Is that how you
Damn
pronounce
right.
it? Haribo.
I think it's,
I love
I
it.
don't, it's one of those.
Yeah.
It's one of those, yeah. But
Yeah.
the golden package, they're
Damn
just
right,
the
yeah,
best. And then yeah, I'll just give you that. That's a good one.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And on the
Cool.
topic of food, if your music project was a dish, what dish would it be and why?
I think it would be like a grilled salmon with mashed potatoes and like zucchini and maybe some bread. And I
Ooh.
say that because I would say that because it is most people would have that plate and be like, oh, that's really good. Like, it's not like, I feel like a lot of people like salmon. It's not like, but it's also, there's also a lot of flavors that, might not be for everyone, who knows?
Mhm.
But I wouldn't, I was going to say like pasta, but pasta is just like, so like it's very universal, and it's just like, okay. So, but I wanted a little bit of a little bit of variant there. But yeah, I feel like it's very digestible, and a lot of people probably love that, and I love that. But there might be a flavor in there that you never had. So who knows?
There you go. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh, that's a good one. If I was on death row, I hope I'm never there.
Yeah,
Um,
you and me both.
Right.
you're right. Okay. I think it would be. Oh, I know. It would be the biggest ribeye cooked medium
Okay.
to medium rare with garlic mashed potatoes and some sort of like steamed broccoli, maybe with some butter on top, and and then this like chocolate cake for dessert, like the best moist chocolate cake you could ever have. And then I
Yeah.
would take a large sweet tea from the south.
Damn right.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
I would have to say, just because I love the movies,
Mhm.
Narnia. One of my favorite
Fuck
stories.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to be the king with the horse and talk to the beavers that can talk.
It's pretty badass, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I've done our best. And last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Oh, that's good. That is the most important question. Says
Thank
a
you.
lot about someone.
Yeah.
Blue, like a
Blue.
darker blue, not navy, but royal blue.
Ooh,
Royal blue.
classic.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Album comes out September 6th. I'm going on tour shortly after that for 4 shows. And yeah, go follow me on socials, go listen to the album, come see me on tour. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you for sound. It's been Caleb Hearn, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.